Welcome back to Tied Down TV, the punk rock opinion show with me, Geoff.
I'm Danny.
Today we're doing our top 5 sludge stroke doom metal records. So, a little brief history of doom metal. What would you do? The origins have got to be Black
Sabbath, yeah.
Haven't they? Origins of metal, origins of doom metal as well. Those first.
What do you think of when you think of sludge and doom metal? What are the first? I don't even talk about music here. What things come into your mind? You know what comes into my mind? Whiskey.
Yeah.
The South.
Yeah.
Beards.
Yeah.
Marijuana.
Yeah.
That's what comes into my mind.
I mean, yeah, I'd second all that. A lot of weed and a lot of whiskey.
Yeah.
And also quite misanthropic lyrically. I find
100%.
a lot of sludge, especially and doom as well. Slow, long, meaty riffs.
Yeah.
You could go on, couldn't you? But yeah, I'd say definitely Black Sabbath, the origins.
Well, yeah, especially Masters of Reality.
Oh, what an album!
But I think as well is when if you think of that and then you think of like the California punk scene, when you have bands like Flipper, and when Black Flag released My War and all that stuff, and then I think it was from there a lot of bands from like New Orleans got influenced by that stuff. Yeah, and then that's when that scene started. That's what I think.
I think sludge, especially that NOLA sound down in the South, like you say, it's weird because I always think of doom metal being like a blanket term almost for all those things like sludge, stoner, you know, and then the variations, your stoner doom and death doom and all that. If you had to
could you differentiate all them genres though?
I
think sludge and punk are more intertwined.
Definitely sludge has got like a hardcore.
Doom and punk are.
Sludge has got a hardcore influence for sure. It's like, you know, the slowed downness of doom metal with the fat riffs and stuff, or groovy riffs quite often. But definitely with a hardcore attitude. Like I say, sludge definitely I associate with that misanthropic, nihilistic self-hatred almost. Doom maybe slower than sludge, but that can vary again because you got like stoner doom bands who
funeral doom,
which is very slow. Bands like drone stuff like Sun, Boris, you know, Earth, all that kind of stuff as well. It's hard to differentiate it, but I always think of all of that in the same, whatever you want to call the overarching term for it, is that I always think of that as a kind of in the same bracket.
Only thing I will say is everyone knows I'm all about hugs, not drugs. But if I was going to decide to roll up and smoke a foul doobie, these are the albums would be the ones I'd pick to do it to.
I think you picked some mighty fine records to do that to be honest. So without further ado then, should we kick this off?
What have you gone for?
So first of all, I've gone for one of the pioneers of sludge, definitely. Gone for Melvins' third album, Bullhead. So this is quite a significant album, I think, for their catalogue, because this is definitely where they went more. The songs got longer on this after the first two, Osmo was the second one, and Gluey Porch Treatment. They had like quite short 2-3 minute songs. This is where things, and it opens with the song Boris, who the Japanese band who do play doom and sludge and drone and stuff, name themselves after it. It's like 8 minutes of just sludgy goodness. Every tune on it is great, to be fair though. It's Shoved, it's one of my favourites. Your Blessings as well, absolutely fucking stunning. These are definitely, I say, one of the pioneers of sludge, because I'd say these were influenced by Flipper and Side 2 of My War. So these were this is the kind of thing I think that, like you were saying at the beginning there, this came out of that, definitely. These, you know, quite openly very big fans of Flipper and that period of Black Flag. Melvins, a funny band, aren't they? They're quite experimental at times, but you know, this is sludgy as, and they've got to be in the conversation when you're talking sludge metal for me. So yeah, this is my personal favourite Melvins album, but you could get away with quite a few of them. But yeah, Bullhead.
Talking about pioneers of sludge, I've gone When the Kite Strings Pop by Acid Bath. Unfortunately, I don't have this on vinyl.
It's fucking expensive.
Exactly, right now. This obviously being like you say, one of the pioneering bands, one of the early releases, it tends to go in a few strange directions other than just sludge.
More experimental.
There's like death and roll stuff going on, and there's even a bit of goth in there as well. And you know what I really love? What I really love about this album as well, other than just the music, which is obviously brilliant, especially that first song.
It's fucking good.
The Blue, which is an amazing song. One thing I really love about this and why I'd want to get it on vinyl is the artwork here. You've got 3 paintings here done by John Wayne Gacy, right? of his alter ego Pogo the Clown. Right now, they're brilliant pieces of art. Obviously, now he drew them he painted them while he was on death row awaiting execution. So when you think about the music, you're talking about misanthropy and all of that stuff. Yeah. This is a classic. It's iconic in its artwork. It's iconic in its music, and I don't think I could have left it out.
It could not be in the list. No. Definitely amazing pick. So pick number 2 for me. So this is on the sludgy side as hell. Like, I've gone for Dismal by Grief, and this, when I was talking at the beginning, when I associate sludge with like self-hatred, misanthropic, this just sounds like pure pain, and I fucking love it. It's formed by what's his name, Terry Sevastano, who's guitarist in Disrupt. He wanted to form a slower sounding band, I think, in veins of like Dystopia and stuff like that. So he's released a split with Dystopia. It's very, there's only 4 tracks in it. This is probably the shortest record I reckon out of all of our picks, because I think this is only about 20-25 minutes, but it chugs and slugs. The drums are dead crystal crisp, the guitar fucking hits hard, like, it's unbelievable, like saying, it's very shrieky vocals with that. And you can just feel like it just feels nihilistic. It feels full of hate and spite. It's fucking beautiful, man. Like, honestly, this is one of my top ones for just in sort of heavy music. Like, it's fucking brilliant. So yeah, Dismal by Grief.
Do you want to hear a Liverpool hardcore funny fact about Grief?
Yes, please.
So Video Nasties put Grief on
right
in the mid 2000s, and the gig was going ahead and everything, and the opening bands played, and Grief never turned up, which meant Dean then had to face a load of angry stoner doom heads threatening him for their money back.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was quite funny seeing him turn fucking white and green and all that different colours.
As well, if I turned up for that show and he didn't fucking play, man.
Now, next I've gone Eyehategod, Take As Needed for Pain.
That's the iconic Sludge album.
Yeah, now, talking about New Orleans and whiskey and teeth missing and all that stuff, misanthropy, self-hatred, it doesn't get much better for that kind of thing than this. Now, my experience when I saw these live was quite fitting, because if you remember, I don't know if you remember, I was really unwell.
Yeah.
I was so unwell, honestly. I was so determined to get to the gig, though, because I just thought, they don't come around all the time, and I thought, I need to see Eyehategod, need to see him. We got there, I was so unwell, and I was that ill, I was hallucinating while we were playing, which with the music and all that, it just kind of added to the experience. Now, the reason I've gone for this album is it features my favourite song as a bonus track, which is Serving Time in the Middle of Nowhere, which has just got the best middle riff change ever. Just I always loved the vocals of Eyehategod. Obviously their first album was definitely more along the hardcore punky side of things, but the vocals are what always won me over. Now, Eyehategod are a band that, like, even back in the day, I was always aware of them as a kid, because being a kid, when you listen to Pantera, there's that link with Crowbar and Down, and then Eyehategod are in that little bracket of bands as well. So even as a young kid, I was always aware of Eyehategod, but I think when I was really young, they were probably a bit too much for me with all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd be the same.
They were a band I really started to appreciate later.
Into, kind of
and like I said, there was a number of albums I could have picked, but I think this is their best by quite a way, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah. I absolutely love that band, as you know.
Yeah.
That's their best, but my favourite is the one after it, Dopesmoker. But anyway, pick number 3, I've gone for Satan Worshiping Doom by Bongripper. So Bongripper from Chicago, 4-piece band who play instrumental doom music. A lot of it is very obviously the titles of things. It's very tongue-in-cheek. This is 4 tracks, and they're titled Hail, Satan, Worship, Doom. I believe, I don't know, someone might verify this if they want me in the comments, that they might even be a straight edge band, like none of them, like they love doom metal and things like that, but I do think they come out of hardcore, some of the members. I don't know loads of info about them personally, but I'm sure I read that somewhere, but please correct me if I'm wrong, because I might well be. It's just fucking brilliant though, so good. Like, in terms of instrumental metal albums and just instrumental music in general, these are up there for me. They're so fucking cool. Some of the songs on this, like the second track, Satan, is It's got like a black metal riff in it over like a doomy pace. It sounds fucking amazing.
I've never listened to them.
I think they're great, obviously. But this is the pick of the bunch for me. Like I say, obviously it's a bit tongue in cheek, calling their album Satan Worshiping Doom and stuff like that. But they named themselves after the Sleep album, Dopesmoker. The first release was called the Great Barrier Reefer. And they just wanted to make a one-song track that went longer than that, which was like an hour and 20 minutes. But yeah, anyway, this is, like I say, pick of the bunch. So if you want to get on these, try this one first. Satan Worshiping Doom by Bongripper.
This next album means an awful lot to me, and I'll go into why. This is, on the Doom side of things, this is Come My Fanatics by Electric Wizard. Now, every now and then comes a album or a band that becomes like a therapy album. Now, about 10 years ago, I was going through... I mean, let's be real. Any of us who are involved in this punk thing, metal thing, if you're actually involved in the scene itself and you live that life, let's be honest, you're probably on the spectrum and to some degree. You've probably got a disorder. If you're watching this show, you definitely probably got a disorder, let's be honest. When I was going through some of the worst... episodes of anxiety I've ever experienced in my life about 10 years ago. Honestly, I was struggling like I was nuts. I think I went through 8 days without going to sleep. I was going for jogs at 3 a.m. just to stop myself having intense panic attacks. It was really, really bad. Now, anyone who goes through them kind of mental disorders knows that over time, you become a bit ritualistic in your coping mechanisms. Now, what started happening after a while of these nights where I couldn't sleep is I settled on a album to try and fall asleep to. Now, the first night I tried it, I picked this album, and it was Come My Fanatics by Electric Wizard, and I actually fell asleep really fast. I woke up the next day thinking, well, because that worked then, it's going to work tonight as well. It worked the next night. It worked the next night. It worked the next night. In a way, bit of a life-saving album. In that way, it came to a point where I think I listened to it every night for about 2 or 3 months before I kind of got back into my normal mental headspace again. Really, really means a lot to me for that reason. However, because of that, it's kind of funny because this is kind of left almost like how can I describe it? If I listen to this now, it's kind of left like a mental thing in my head that if I put this on now, I feel tired, like straight away. Yeah. Like literally, if I ever put this on, I fall asleep before the end of the first song. It makes me tired now. Cool. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, Electric Wizard, I think, are the best to come from our shores for Doom, in my opinion. I mean, if you're including Black Sabbath in that, but I'm not actually. Do you know what I mean? No. I'm just talking about the Doom metal thing, Yeah. And this album is really important to me for the reasons I've just said. But yeah, Come My Fanatics, Electric Wizard.
It is absolutely fucking amazing. And I'm going to stick with the theme because I've also picked an Electric Wizard album and I've gone for Dopethrone. And let's be fair, if you're a fan of this band, your favourite album by them is either this one or Come My Fanatics. This is my favourite. It's the first one I heard by them. This was their third release. It's just an iconic album in Doom, isn't it? And that artwork is just amazing, outstanding, isn't it? I feel like this one more. I like this one a bit more than Come My Fanatics, maybe only slightly. I just like the sound of it. It sounds like the guitar, and it might sound a bit cheesy, this, but they just sound like they're dripping in weed resin. Like,
yeah, no, I get it.
Do you know what I mean? Like, fucking hell, man. And like musically, it's indebted to Sabbath. Obviously, obviously a little bit psychedelic, I think, on the end as well. Some like weird.
A lot of Doom is. Like a lot of Doom is psychedelic.
Absolutely. But lyrically, like, it's not like Sabbath at all. Whereas, because Sabbath is quite, they're almost hippie-ish at times. Some of their lyrics, very loving and things like that at times. Whereas this is all fucking, drugs and murder and things like that. It's just fucking, it's outstanding, isn't it? It's iconic, and I don't know what else to say. Like, if you haven't heard Electric Wizard and you're interested in doom metal, like Danny said, best from the UK, and start with either this or Fanatics.
I'm going to tell a little story for my next pick. So, doom metal was probably a genre I slightly resented for a while, because if people were around in the Liverpool hardcore scene in the mid-2000s, they might remember that when hardcore started dying off in Liverpool in the kind of mid to late 2000s, doom metal was the kind of thing that took it over, like, with popularity in Liverpool. And instead of getting, like, who we'd had up here, you know, like your Knuckle Dusts or your Dead and Gone bands, all that stuff. You were suddenly getting, every week you were getting like Salvain, Ramesses, Orange Goblin, you know, all these bands were, you know, that seemed to be the weekly thing, and it was pulling stuff in. I was a little bit, it annoyed me, I guess, at the time. Obviously, I was into Black Sabbath, because everyone's into Black Sabbath. Everyone likes Black Sabbath, and, you know, and all that. But doom metal itself was probably a genre I was a little bit, like, you know, resented a little bit. That probably changed when a bunch of us sat down once to watch the movie Gummo.
Yeah.
Right?
Not a fucking movie.
Yeah, and I heard the first song off this album. So this is Holy Mountain by Sleep. The song I'm talking about is Dragonaut. Probably the most recognisable opening riff on an album. That down, 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 down. If you're not banging your head once that kicks in. So yeah, we're sitting there, we're watching Gummo, and it wasn't just this song. There was loads of great songs. The soundtrack's amazing. Yeah, amazing. It's far better than the film, I have to say.
It's a weird fucking film.
It's far better than the film. But as soon as I heard Dragonaut, I was like, all right, I'm going to check this band Sleep out. And then I bought this. Obviously, very iconic artwork. Yeah. And the whole album is amazing. Similarly to come my Fanatics, to one of them I do tend to put on when I want to relax and all that kind of stuff. I also liked it. I said I always like Black Sabbath. It's very, very like Black. You know, I liked this because it sounds like Black Sabbath. Yeah, really sounds like Black Sabbath. My only issue with this album, if I had to pick something, and this is a weird thing, but I suffer sometimes with migraines with Aura. If anyone knows what they are, it's like where you get a migraine and you go blind in one eye temporarily, and you get these zigzag lines. The cover of this always reminded me of those zigzag lines that I get in my eye line when I get a migraine with Aura. So sometimes when I look at this, I go, ooh, like that. Kind of freaks me out a little bit. But yeah, this was probably, if I'm being honest then, probably my gateway album for doom metal, you know, to get into it, to go, oh, this is awesome. This is probably that album.
It's great. Yeah. It's fucking just a stunning record. Yeah. And my final pick, and also a Sleep record, I mentioned it before, but it's got to come up in the conversation. I've gone for Dopesmoker. So this is Sleep's third album. I picked a lot of third albums, I realised before as well, of you know, Sleep being the legends they are. This definitely doesn't sound quite like Holy Mountain. I think the sounds is slightly different on every release, but anyway. So after that came out on Earache, there was a bit of legal blah blah blah, and they ended up on London Records. They said they signed to London because London had no metal bands. They offered them quite a bit of money, and they thought, all right, well, we'll get a bit of love off these because they haven't got any other metal bands, so they might like prioritise us, etc. Gave them a decent advance, which rumour for a long time was that they just spent it all on weed and amps. Actually, they've confirmed that they did spend a bit of it on that, but they paid off the debts that they had as a band. Recorded this masterpiece of an hour and 3 minute long song that they've been working on for years. Label rejected it, said no chance. Band split up. For a few years, then a couple of releases unofficially, like Rise Above put out a chopped, screwed version of it called Jerusalem, which is a bit shorter. The band don't particularly like a lot of the versions that are out. I think they said this one is the one that they think sounds the most like it. But regardless of all the drama, the backstory that went on for it, eventually it got its release and Sleep came back as a band and all was fucking right with the world. This is probably the one where with doom metal, stoner metal, the first time I heard this, where I was like, oh wow, like it's the fucking ambition of an hour-long song where it can shift and change, keep you interested. Just stunning. These are my top band out of this genre, I think, and especially this Holy Mountain and the Science is just fucking stunning. But yeah, this is the shit for me. Like, so yeah, Dopesmoker.
So my last pick, I've gone for my favourite sludge / doom band. I wonder if you can guess who it is. But what album have I picked? Well, I have picked God Luck and Godspeed. Now, I love all Weedeater's albums apart from 16 Tons. That's the one that was kind of,
I don't really like that.
Yeah, that's probably the one I don't really like, but I had to pick one, and it was like, which one do I go for? Gone for this because it's got my favourite artwork. They're my favourite band of this genre. It's to this day one of the best bands I've ever seen live in any genre.
It was so good.
The lead, the main guy, Dixie, is one of the most disgusting individuals to watch live. I mean, this guy. I mean, first off, let me just talk about the gig a little bit. It was amazing because we saw him in the old factory offices, the old factory records offices, and it was so... Remember when they first started and everyone was like, fucking hell. Like, it was unbelievable. But what I like about it is the little stage show he put on with the little...
you know, like spin the bottle and stuff
all
like
sorts of mad little stuff adds to it, adds to that.
Kick the bass
that kind it almost gives you a look at life in the deep south of America, you know, those areas.
Oh, they're the real deal.
Man, I love it. But he is disgusting. I mean, we seen him snot on himself and then lick it up, and you know, it was disgusting. But you know what? I've seen like people talking about them where he said he's done. I'm not even going to tell you what people have said he's done. But I think he's a genius. I have to say the guy's a genius, and these are so good. I just think they're perfect. Honestly, I absolutely love them, and I'll always. That's one of my favourite nights we've ever had.
Yeah,
that
it's one of my favourite things.
It was unbelievably good. But yeah, Weedeater's my last pick. So is that all our picks?
Yeah.
So it's time for everyone's favourite segment. It's time for Conned Are They? So got a bit of a show and tell on Con today. Right, so first off, I received a package this week off my Uncle Jay, and I'll cover his address up there just in case, but I received this package today and it says, "Have I been conned? Ha ha ha." Right, now just for a bit of context, my Uncle Jamie is one of our first ever subscribers. He's one of our biggest supporters. He watches this every week. And one of the things he likes to do is if I mention an album or something that I've struggled to get, he looks for it. It's like one of his little things to do. Now, I open this package and I get this inside, right? And it's this. Now, New York's Hard. Now, what it turns out to be is people are aware of the New York's Hardest CD compilation. Now, what I didn't realise is this is the same, but it is a singles vinyl version. So it is... How good's that, man?
That's amazing.
Yeah, so... I'd never even knew this existed, right? I had no idea. So I had to do a bit of research of it, yeah. There's only 1,000 made, and it's from 1995, right? So it is that CD compilation, but a singles version. So all those songs that are on that compilation are on 7-inch here, and it also comes with this original slip here. Now, the question he asked on the page was, because it's obviously been well loved as you can tell, was, have I been conned? Well, I can tell you, Uncle Jamie, that I've listened to it through and it works fine. You haven't been conned, and this is a really nice thing to have, so thank you very much. However, that ain't where this finishes. So there has been a con this week. So one of the bands I'm trying to collect their stuff recently is a brilliant band from Cleveland called Spud Monsters. Really amazing, underrated band. Some of their early stuff is really hard to get. I recently found someone selling this, one of their first albums, Moments of Truth. Right, now, it was 25 quid. And it was graded as excellent condition. Okay. Excellent condition. So, Jeffrey, what's wrong with this picture?
Oh dear.
Exactly, oh dear. Now, I listened to it through. Does it play fine? Hell does it. Isolation, the first song, skips like a motherfucker. Now, the problem is, I got this from a seller who was called something weird, like Betty's Books or something like that. So it wasn't like like David Smith from Rotherham. It was a shop called Betty's Books or something like that. Now, this is hard to get. It's one of the only times I've seen it at a price that I was willing to pay. And when it's classed as excellent, you're going to pay 25 quid for this album. It turns up. And I tell you something, Betty, if this is what your idea of excellence is, I'd hate to come to your house for tea, because I tell you what, if this is what you class as excellent, I bet your house stinks of piss and shit and everything, that fucking skids on the wall and all sorts of stuff, because that is an absolute disgrace, and that is a big con for this week.
Wow.
So have you been conned?
I've had a bit of a con, actually. So this probably, I guess, I've kind of realised now that it might be a con. So about a month to 6 weeks ago, I ordered, any of our regular viewers remember way back, we did the Holy Grails, and one of mine was crossed out, the compilation. In any format, it's fucking rare as rockin' or shit to find. Anyway, found a tape copy of it on Discogs at a price I was willing to pay, and I thought, yes, I'll have that. Ordered it, and wait patiently, you know, these things can take time. After a couple of weeks, it's like just no sign of it, so I messaged the seller and he's like, oh yeah, here's the tracking number, I'll keep an eye on it for you, blah blah blah. And it went on the tracking thing, still in transit. Anyway, here we are 6 weeks later. Still.
How much you pay for it?
No update. I think it was 37 quid.
For the tape?
Yeah.
And you haven't had it?
And I haven't had it. I mean, it very much feels like I've been conned. However, thankfully, because it's Discogs, I know I'll get the money back. So, yeah, that's it.
That's it.
So let us know your picks in the comments. And you know the drill. Like, subscribe, go and ring that bell if you want some notifications. Instagram, Facebook, messages and follows and likes and all that. We love it. See you next week.